So we're definitely going to touch on some more ways to draw faces in upcoming weeks of Weekly Art Date, but I wanted to explore a way to alter a magazine image so that if you don't draw or don't like to draw or have no interest in drawing, you have another way to add an image that becomes your own. So, first thing we want to do is find a magazine image that we're going to alter. And so I'm looking for an image, like this is pretty good, but I want to find a bigger one. But like I want good structure to the face because you're going to completely kind of change it. I'm going to go with this one because it actually has two faces and we're going to use them both. And I'm going to get rid of the hair. You don't have to, you could leave the hair there. But I wanted to explore changing the hair. So, it's going to look funny. Don't worry about that. Not right now. Okay, it definitely looks weird to start with, but that's okay. It'll probably look weird when we're done too, actually. And we're just going to glue this in place. And I'm just using gel medium and a credit card. Actually, this is my ticket from Disney whenever we went last month. I like doing the images this way so that they're nice and smooth, so I have a good surface to work on when we do further steps. Doesn't matter if a little glue gets on your face, you just want it to be pretty smooth. You could brayer it if you want to, really not necessary. Now we're going to let that dry. And now we're just going to add a layer of clear gesso. If you didn't have clear gesso, you could do a really light layer of white gesso, but I like the clear gesso because it lets me see what's underneath it. And depending on how you think you want to proceed with the rest of the page, you might want to keep the clear gesso only on the faces because the texture kind of messes up the markers a little bit, though we're going to sand it, so that's going to help. Way too much. I'm doing this again so I have a pretty smooth surface, as smooth as I can get with clear gesso anyway. And now we just have to let that dry. Okay, now that this is dry, I have just a little chunk of sandpaper. I have no idea what grit this is. This is just whatever I had in my stash. I'm just going to very lightly sand this to make it smoother. If your clear gesso is not gritty, you could probably skip this step, no problem. But mine is pretty gritty. It's okay if it scratches up the face a little bit. I'm really barely touching the paper. And then I just feel it to see if it's pretty smooth. Yeah, it's definitely smoother. I'm going to start with this face. And I'm going for a realistic look. So I'm going to dig out good colors for... I'll tell you what all these colors are when I have them all snagged out. I'm looking basically for earth tones, which will be browns, dark and light brown, maybe like a bit of a pink to add a little pink to her, and I like a yellow ochre color. I don't know if I have yellow ochre in these, but I'll show you what I mean. Most of these are Inktense. Some of these I have some just regular watercolor pencils mixed in. I like the Inktense better, but if you only have watercolor pencils, you could definitely work with them. They just won't give you as vivid of a color, but they will still definitely do the job. Okay. So I don't know if I'll use all these, but this is what I pulled out. Baked Earth, Antique White, Mustard, Willow, Dark Chocolate, Sepia Ink, India Black, Tan, and Deep Rose. And these are all Inktense. So we're going to start, I always start with a lighter color. That's always going to be, well, I guess not always, but pretty much always how I do my faces. So we're going to start with Tan. And you're looking at the face to see like where the darker shading areas are, which on this face is in this area and like here. And there's a little tiny touch of darkness around the side and the lips, but the light is hitting this way. So this side is a little darker. So, same basic idea for drawing a face, like you do the eyes, eyebrow, do a little bit around the edges here, doing very light layers, a little bit at the bridge of the nose here, a little tiny bit right there, a little bit here, barely any on this side, and then underneath, and a little touch under the mouth. Alright, so that's my lightest shade, and now for my next lighter color, I'm going to go with Willow, which I should sharpen, but it'll do the trick. And just go over everywhere that you just added the tan. It's going to look a little funny, that's okay. A little bit around here. Adding a little on this side because it still has a little bit of shadow in there. Now my darkest color is Dark Chocolate, and I'm doing like the furthest edges, like the deepest inside of the eyes, right along the eyebrow. The darkest parts I'm doing with this. Not being super picky about having it be exactly where I want, because the point is to alter the face, not keep it exactly the same. Again, adding a little tiny bit. Kind of like doing eyeliner really here. Do a little bit in the mouth. Okay, now we're going to add, this is Mustard, and just a little bit where the light touches. So I'm really going to go like right here under the eyebrow, and I'm going to do right at the top of the cheek here. And that's it. No, maybe a little there. That's it. And then we want a little bit of pink. And I'm just going to go basically where her shading already is. So she has some pink here, here. Not too much because it'll be too much. A little above the eyes. And then her mouth. And I'm doing the mouth by doing the inside of the lips, and I'm going to pull the color down. Okay, so that should be good. I didn't use all the colors. I'll use those later. And next step is to use a water brush or a paintbrush with water. I zoomed in a little so you can see this a little bit better. I'm just going to start all of the shadow, like the darkest places, and I'm just going to pull the color onto the face. So I'm kind of activating it. I'm going in here to make sure this pink is spread out pretty well. And I'm using a very fine brush so that I can really control where my color is and what's happening with it. Neck doesn't have to be super picky, so I'm just going to do that real fast. So when you have places that you don't want to be as dark, you just pick up a little color and then smush it around and leave most of the color back where it started. But I am going to add a little color everywhere. Just because I am altering it, So here we got the yellow, it's going to show where the light is hitting. Kind of smear it around whenever you want a better blend. You could at this point like kind of change the features by making the cheekbone more pronounced or whatever. If you have a place you don't like, just kind of dab it up and get rid of it. You could use a napkin or something, but I just use my hand because I don't have a napkin. This can be good practice too for if you are learning faces, because you can kind of see where the shadows should be, so when you draw your own you do better. So I'm activating and then just pulling the color, so I just have a little bit in the lighter places. Trying to keep it so that where it's light with me is where it was light when it started. Though you could completely change that if you wanted to. I usually leave the eyes as is because I kind of like how that ends up looking, but you could change the eyes if you wanted to. If you messed up the eyes, you could go in and redraw them. That does happen sometimes. So for the lips, I'm just picking up the color and pushing it up a little tiny bit. I'm not really changing the color of the lips, so I'm just darkening it a bit. So I'm just doing little tiny, like, and that automatically shades the lips for you, so you don't have to do really anything else to them. And you can kind of keep going over it until all the color is activated, until you like it. Alright, now that I have altered the faces, I need to give them hair because they look pretty weird without hair. Of course, you could just do like silly party hats or something like that, but I saved this because you could, if you really liked the hair of a model, you could reattach it. But I basically did it so that I could see, you know, proportion of where her shoulder is and then where the top of her hair is. So right about there is the top of her head. You don't have to do this, but it can be helpful if you aren't sure. Since I cut that off there, I'm actually gonna go like that. And I'm just doing it in pencil. And then here, the top of her head was cut off, so I just have to kind of guess that it's like that. And same thing, can't really see her shoulders, so we're just gonna go. I think that's good. Now I'm gonna draw in their hair. At this point, you could change the hair to make it however you would like it to be. Alright, there's her hair. I'm going to refer back here. So I just have a little bit of her hair on this side, and then most of it is over here. And I'm giving her like a high collar. Whoa, it's making a very strange noise. Okay, so now that I have sketched it in, I am going to use, this is a Pitt Artist pen. I'm using a fine point. Hopefully this, I have one that doesn't work, so hopefully this is the one that does. And I'm just going to go over the lines that I drew. This is the one that doesn't work very well, but You could skip this and go straight to adding the color, but and I'm just going to quickly erase out the lines I don't need. This is a magic rub eraser. I guess you can't even read it anymore, but I love the magic rub erasers because they don't mess up my page usually. Sometimes they catch a little bit and do, but and I'm going to keep working with the Inktense for the hair, and I'm going to go with blue. Alright, so for this lady I'm using Peacock Blue and Ink Black. I'm going to start with Ink Black. I'm just making lines in the curve, leaving some white space. I was a little darker around the face and the neck. This whole side is going to be darker because the shadow is darker over here. And some blue. I thought that combining the colors will give me like that blue-black hair look from really dark hair. We'll see if it works out that way. And now we're just going to color it in. Okay, for this lady, I have sun yellow and mustard is a very bright yellow. It's gonna give her like some crazy bright blonde hair. Anytime you see the underneath of the hair, it's usually darker than the top of the hair. And again, add the water. Not going for a very realistic looking hair here, just something that I like. Make sure you're always cleaning off your brush with the Inktense because it will mess up your brush tip if it dries on it. And I want to make this darker, so I'm going to add more black. And the cool thing is you can color right on top of these. The ink becomes permanent whenever it is dry, as long as you've activated all of it. Which means if you miss a little chunk, that could be reactivated, but with the hair it really doesn't matter anyway. I'm going to make her hair darker. This is Baked Earth. This is Tan. I'm just kind of adding that into the inside, and I feel like it's giving it a little more depth, which is what I wanted from adding more color. Now I'm just going to finish the rest of the page, and I just got these stamps. They are called Autumn Leaves Snap Frame Alpha by Katie Perdiet, maybe. And I guess Autumn Leaves is the name of the company. But these are $8 on Amazon, which are awesome. Okay, so when I did the pieces for this, I didn't really explain what I was doing, basically, because I was experimenting to see if my idea would work, and it did. And I'm going to glue this on a little bit later. This is the sleeve here. But I thought that I would do this and actually explain what I'm doing as I do it this time. So the first thing I'm doing, I'm using a soft pencil. So this is a 6B. Probably a regular pencil will work, but I find it'll transfer a little bit better with a softer lead. And you're just going to trace around the shape of the piece. So I'm going to do the collar and this all together. So I'm just tracing approximately where I want it to be. I guess I'll do that part of the collar separate. I'm not really worrying about being perfect, as usual. I'm just doing my thing. Okay, and so the first time I did it, I put the paper on it and rubbed it, but I think it might work better if I do it the opposite way. So I'm going to flip my journal around. And I am going to line up the paper here. And I'm just going to rub on top and see if that works a little better. I'm just using, I grabbed my water brush, Probably something sturdier would actually be a little better, but... And okay, now that I know where she actually is, I should have checked that first. I guess this would be better if the other side was blank, but luckily this is all painted, so I'm not gonna like mess up any paper or collage or whatever. Okay, I think I got enough of that. This will work. Okay. So I got the general sense of it. It might not be perfect, so I'm not going to cut it like really close. I can always make it a little smaller later if I need to. That's pretty close. Good. And it's not perfect, but yeah, I messed up a little bit here, but that's okay, whatever. I like it. Now I'm gonna do, I think I could probably just guess the collar. Should be pretty close. It's kind of weird collar, but whatever, I'm gonna go with what I drew. Maybe I'll change it, we'll see. Now I'm gonna do the arm the same way. This time to make it manageable, I cut my piece down the size. And you're transferring it onto the back of the piece because you want this to be the pretty side, and you don't, if you do it the other way, it'll be backwards anyway. So, flip around. Make sure it's lined up, and rub. I grabbed my bone folder this time, maybe it'll be a little better transfer because I can rub way harder. Perfect. You can probably barely see that, but it's enough. You know, you can kind of see it. It's enough for me to know what I need to cut, and that's all that needs to happen. Alright, I like it. I'm going to glue this and then work on the arms, and I'm going to fix her too. So, that's where we are. Oh, this is my bracelet. I made it yesterday. It's actually, you could wear it as a necklace too. And it's made out of recycled silk saris that I buy from Darn Good Yarns. Same stuff that I use to make the trim on my journals. And I made this as a sample. It's going to be the teen project that I'm working on for the first day of class, which is this week. Yay! And I'm hoping that the kids love them. they're super soft and really comfortable. So this is just gel medium, and the pencil will smear, so just be conscious of that and try to kind of stay within the lines of what's going to be covered up, and then it won't really matter too much. And with gel medium, it's always best to work kind of fast because it dries pretty quickly. And now we're just going to line it up kind of the best that we can. See, it's smeared, but that's okay. You could use like this transfer and cut thing for anything. Like you could do words, really anything. I thought it would kind of, I thought it would be cool, like add to like the doll-like effect of these ladies that we have created. I'm just gonna glue this on, and then when it's dry, I'll trim off the overhang. Sometimes that's the easiest way to do it. I try to leave a little bit of a gap so you can see that it's pieced together, because that is cool looking to me, but you obviously wouldn't have to do that if you didn't want to. So she has that little mess up there, but I'm okay with that, but I am going to do something about that, and I think she's going to need, actually I'm going to trim it now. I don't know if I want to give it a collar or not. If I do the collar like that, it's a little better. Maybe I'll just try to change the shape of what's going on there. I like that. It's still kind of messed up, but whatever. Looks cool. You've probably figured out by now that I don't care very much about being perfect. It's more fun for me if I don't worry about it. Okay, I really love where these ladies are right now, and I'm gonna think about what I want to do background wise. I think I'm just gonna paint it with watercolors, but I'm gonna let them dry and kind of muse on it, and I will be back to finish up.